And then next, we're going to move on to some skills and certifications that someone may have or someone may need to obtain at these particular roles. So looking at the data center technician. So at this role, you're going to need to know some basic networking, some basic networking. You may even need to know some basic network configuration. So if you're in a data center and you're working for an MSP, it may be one of your duties to put the basic config on a device for the network engineer to get access to it. So you may need to know some basic configurations, but everyone needs to know some basic networking, just because I think networking will help you out along your job. Because a lot of times, if it's a networking issue, if you can spot it out, it may be an issue that you don't have to send up. It's something that you're able to fix yourself. So some basic networking. And then also, like I said, sometimes in the data center, you're going to need some cabling skills, or this is something that I think that is real valuable, because a lot of times, believe it or not, with most of us working on virtual equipment all the time, sometimes you never had the chance to really cable up any real equipment. So you're so used to the virtual that when you're looking at the piece of equipment and it's right there in front of you, you don't realize how to cable it up. Where, to some folks it seems easy, some folks it seems hard. I done seen it come both ways. I done seen like different people, it affects them differently. So for me, I always looked at it as if just like connecting the dots, where most of the time you got a label. So we're putting it in port 01 on this device, and I need to go to port 05 on this other device. So usually to me it's straightforward. But like I said, if you've never seen a real piece of equipment and you never had to cable it up, or let's say that you're going from a role where you was doing everything remote, you was able to remote into everything, to now you're on a role where you get a new networking device, a new router, a new switch, and you got to go put it in the data center yourself and then cable it up. That can be a learning curve there, because it takes some getting used to. It's one of the things that you have to do it often. And then on top of that, a lot of times you need to make the cabling neat. That was always my downfall. I could cable it up, but making that thing neat, I did my best. But hey, I probably got a C on that. But like I said, cabling it up is something that just comes with practice. Trust me, once you get in this role and you cable up different pieces of equipment, you'll become a master at cabling. And then sometimes too, believe it or not, sometimes when you get to cabling, especially if you're cabling up a lot of a piece of equipment, or let's say you're cleaning up some cabling, a lot of times it starts to become somewhat therapeutic. So at least that's what I hear. So then moving on to some certifications that someone may have at this position. So usually you'll see a lot of fundamental certifications. Like by fundamental, I mean something like the Network Plus, making sure you got a general understanding of networking. The A Plus, making sure you got a general understanding of the computer hardware. And then also you will see some of these roles, especially if you're in a data center where you're managing a lot of networking equipment, or maybe you're the MSP and they're supporting a lot of people for networking or something of that aspect. Then you may see a CCNA being asked that someone has. So, but at this role here, it's one of the roles that a lot of times I feel like if you have a good IT background, and let's say you do pretty good on the interview and you're real ambitious, I think a lot of times this is probably one of the roles where even if you didn't have no certification, but a lot of times that manager see where you're going in that direction. A lot of times I think they will cut you a break and give you a chance at this role. So like I said, it's one of those roles that you can get into and kind of learn the foundation. If you're doing it in-house at an organization, you can learn how that organization is structured. And then also you get a little bit of hands-on with a lot of the equipment that organization may use. And then with the help desk technician role, so at this role, you also would need to know some basic networking. Like I said, knowing basic networking helps to fix all kind of issues without you having to route it to the networking team. Knowing things like how to access a router, basic troubleshooting, things like that. So how to troubleshoot a networking issue. So being able to look at a PC and being able to tell that, okay, this PC has done pulled the wrong address or something to that nature. And then also at the help desk role, you will be on the OS a lot. So you will need to know some basic Windows commands, know how to bring up your command prompt. You especially going to need to know ping to test connectivity, things like that. Understand some basic Linux. If your organization supports a lot of Linux PCs, then you're going to need to understand that too. Like I said, Windows is probably what you're going to see the most. And then maybe some Mac OS. So some places, they will have a couple folks there using the Mac. So you may need to know your way around that Mac a little bit. It's just this is all is going to depend on the organization. And then also at this help desk technician role, one of the things that could probably get you this job without having no certs before we get to the certification part is good customer service skills. So at this role here, you're the first line of defense, I like to call it, but you're the first person that someone on the outside calls and gets to. So if you got good customer service skills, a lot of times you may be able to land this role without having any certifications at all, because that good customer service skills goes a long way. So if you got good customer service skills, that can't really be taught. So, like you can get marked on a lot of times. You can get marks against you and end up, try to improve your customer service skills. But if you got it from the jump, like I said, that's always a plus in that category, because in this role, you're talking to a lot of people. So some places, I think they'll give you a chance if you got good customer service skills, but you ain't got the IT background, because they know that IT part, you can learn that. But it's hard to learn that good customer service skills. So good customer service skills is always a plus for this position. And then also some of the entry-level certs is some of the same, like the A+, the Network Plus, of course, the CCNA, anything along that nature. And then sometimes, too, even going back to the data center position, sometimes, let's say that you're striving for a server admin. And let's say that you go out and get a VMware cert or something of that nature. So a lot of times, that cert could also help you land one of these roles, because like you hear me mention before, a lot of times some places may look at your resume and say that, okay, you got this certification, but you don't got no real production environment experience. So they may start you out at one of these lower roles, and you may not even be there long. I've seen some people there in a couple months, some people there for 6 months and move on up. So you may get started at this role. That way you get the feel for that production environment. And then a couple months later, you move on up to where you were trying to go. So a lot of times a higher level cert could definitely get one of these roles. But like I said, some of those basic entry level certs like an A+, Network Plus, things along those lines will also help out with this position.